The signs of Christmas are all around us. Hi, my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and today I'm participating in the Holiday Signs Christmas Challenge, hosted by Brenda at Rustic and Lace DIYs and Molly Cole Creations. Their links are in the description box below and the playlist as well. Please check them out and give them some love. Jumping into craft number 1. I love the stencil set that I found on Amazon, and we're going to use this in our sign today. We're starting out with a wood plank that I found at the Dollar Tree, and we're going to remove the hanger from that wood plank, and we'll save it to reattach later. Next, I'm going to put the wood plank on a paintable surface, and we're going to paint it with our chalk paste in the color white. Once the sign has been painted and is completely dry, we're going to grab some Mod Podge and we're going to do a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of this sign. And we'll let that Mod Podge completely dry. And so I found this rice paper on Crafterly, and I'm going to use this on our sign. First, I'm going to cut a small piece out that will fit over the top of this plank, and it's okay if it overhangs because we'll go ahead and sand that later. And once we get that placed on top the way we like it, I grab a piece of parchment paper and a hot iron, and we just iron that down onto our plank. Now let's remove that piece of parchment paper, and I grab my zip sander, but you could use a sanding block if you like. And we'll go ahead and sand off any of that excess rice paper from our sign. Now we'll go ahead and set that aside. I grabbed what is a wood tile that you would normally use for a coaster, but we're going to use this for the center of our sign. And placing that tile on a paintable surface, I'm going to paint this with our Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And once this is completely dry, we can go ahead and start using the stencil. And this stencil pack was so cute. There were 4 stencils in one pack for like $6.99 on Amazon. And we're going to use this one that says "Meet me under the mistletoe" because the rice paper I have there looks a little bit like mistletoe. Now once we have our stencil centered, we're going to grab our chalk paste, and I'm using 3 different colors for this stencil. We'll start out with Kingdom Moss for the greenery on the stencil. And if you're interested in these chalk pastes, they are all linked in my description box below. Just click on my Amazon store and you'll see all of them listed there. And for the bow, we're going to use the color Cranberry by Redesign. For the last color, we're going to use Iron Gate, and we'll use this for the remainder of our stencil. And now let's remove the stencil so that we can see the beautiful sign. What's great about these stencils is you can wash them with some warm water and reuse them again. And once everything is completely dry, to seal the sign, I'm going to use my Jolene Finishing Wax. And this is really easy to apply. You just use a lint-free cloth and you just wipe it over the top of the paint. It does take about 24 hours for it to completely cure. Now let's go back to our wood sign. When we applied the rice paper, it did cover the 2 holes for the hanger, so I'm going to use the back side of a paintbrush just to reopen those holes back up so that we can reattach the hanger. Now let's attach our tile to our sign. I'm using the super glue mounting tape that I did get at the Dollar Tree, and we'll flip over the little tile and add 4 pieces of mounting tape to that tile. And I like using this on some of my projects because it raises it up just a little bit, but also has a really strong hold, and we're not using all of that hot glue on everything. And now our sign is ready to hang with the mistletoe. If you enjoyed this project, please hit that subscribe button below. Craft number 2. This project starts out with some 4-inch wood letters, and we're using the word Merry. And I found that it's easier to paint these with taping them down, so I'm using some painter's tape and painting them down onto a paintable surface. And now that everything is prepped, I grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And we're going to paint a nice coat of paint on the tops of these letters and around the sides of the letters. And this does take a little while, but once you get this all done, they're going to look amazing. Next, we grab our Mod Podge and paint a top coat over the tops of these letters. And I like to use my heat tool to start the drying process, but then I let these air dry for about 20-30 minutes. So while our letters are drying, let's prep our sign. I'm using this sign that I found in the Crafter Square section at the Dollar Tree, and I needed 2 of them because we're going to use 5 of the squares. Let's grab our Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster and dry brush 5 of these squares. And you'll notice here that I leave this top square empty on one of the signs so we can remove it and use it for another project later. When I remove this top piece from the sign, I want to save a little bit of the twine that is there to attach this to our other sign. So once you remove that first set of staples, we want to cut about 4 inches up on the twine. And save that top piece because we can use that for another sign later on. So I flip over the original sign and these 2 pieces, and we're going to attach them. And I'm using a staple gun to attach these, and this is a really easy process as long as you have the really short staples to do this. And now let's flip this over and we have a nice 5-hanger sign. And these napkins I found at HomeGoods, and they're one of my favorites for this season. And if you look, there's 4 quadrants on the napkin, and 1 quadrant has some gold sparkles in it. So we're going to go ahead and prep 5 of these napkins to use 1 napkin per letter, and we're only using the quadrant that has the gold in it. And to prep these napkins, all we need to do is remove the back 2 layers of the napkin. Next, we'll go ahead and cut out the corners of each one of these napkins to use for our letters. Starting with the letter M, we're going to add our first napkin. And I'm going to position the napkin so that I can get as many flowers on the M so that we can see them once they've been ironed on. And next, we'll add our piece of parchment paper and our hot iron and iron the napkin right onto our letter. Now we need to remove some of that excess napkin. I'm using a razor blade to get in the inside pieces of this letter. Once I've removed those pieces of the napkin, I will grab my zip sander, or you could use a sanding block, and we'll just sand around the edges of the letter. And once we get all of the paper removed from the first letter, we'll repeat this step on all 5 letters. I don't remove the painter's tape off the back of these letters because I am going to retape them onto my paintable surface, which will make it easier for me to Mod Podge over the top of these napkins to seal everything in. Now once our merry letters have dried completely, we're going to attach them to our sign. So to adhere these letters to our sign, I'm using some wood glue and hot glue. The wood glue is from the Dollar Tree, and I found no problem using this glue. And once we have our letter positioned, I do press down for a few minutes just to make sure everything adheres nicely. Let's slide this sign up so that we can start on the next letter. And we're going to repeat this step now for the remainder of the letters. And I just love how this sign turns out. It's a large piece, but very easy to do and very economical, but it looks like you spent a lot of money on this. And if you love this wall hanging as much as I do, please leave a Santa down below. Craft number 3. So I fell in love with this angel napkin that I found on Amazon and decided that I needed to make a piece with it. So for our first step, we're going to flip our napkin over and remove the back 2 layers of the napkin. And I use a piece of painter's tape to help me get started on this. So now let's grab our scissors and we'll cut out one of the angels from our napkin. So at the Dollar Tree, they have some artwork, and I bought this art piece thinking it would be a great background for a napkin. So using some Mod Podge in the center of this canvas, we're going to go ahead and paint a nice coat. Next, we're going to lay the napkin right over the top over the wet Mod Podge. Using some cling wrap, we're going to lay a piece over the top of our napkin. Now I'm going to just smooth out the napkin over the top of that cling wrap. And I thought, well, I'm going to use this little roller as well over the top just to make sure we get any air bubbles out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the cling wrap and set this aside to dry. And once this is dried completely, I'm going to go ahead and take some Mod Podge, and I want to use matte Mod Podge on this because I don't want it to be glossy. I want it to look like paint. And we're going to do a nice coat over the top of the napkin and then set it aside to dry again. So I'm trying to make this napkin look like part of the painting. So I'm going to use 3 different colors of Waverly chalk paint, and we're going to do a border around our little angel. And I'm starting out with some chalk paint in the color Mineral, and I'm just tapping that around the outside edge of our painting. And once we are satisfied with this color, we're going to go ahead and set this aside to dry. So I'll grab the sandstone color in Waverly chalk paint, and we're going to repeat the same step, but this time I'm going to go out a little bit further on the paint, and this will reach almost to the edge of our painting. The great thing about this is that you can always repaint over the top if you don't like how it looks. Once you're satisfied with the first 2 colors of paint, I'm taking the chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I want to make a tiny bit of snow. So we're just going to do the same step, but just lightly go around the edge of our napkin. So now that our snow is complete, our snow angel is ready to hang. Thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And please remember, craft more, stress less.